pull this fuse, come back over here, and let's see if we can remove the key now. Maybe. Aha! Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have a Ford Expedition. It is gonna be the 2014 model, and this thing has a problem with, this thing was having a problem with, or is having a problem with the key. I can't turn the thing back far enough to get the thing out of there. Now, as we can see, it is in park, and it still won't turn back, no matter where the position of this is at, nothing. So what I suspect we have is possibly a faulty park neutral safety switch. So come along and we'll see if we can get this thing figured out together. Contact! So got my scan tool plugged in already. We're gonna hook up to this thing, turn the key on, hook up to it. First thing I want to do is come in here, and I want to see, I was working on the blower motor resistor earlier, so hence the reason all that's in here. But I want to see if this thing, where the park neutral safety switch is saying this thing is at. So let's hook up. We'll do automatic selection. Yeah, it's equipped, doesn't really matter. All right, so do a fault scan, why not? Okay, now let's come into, I want to come into PCM here. Let's see what we've got. We'll look at live data, because the TCM should be reporting to the PCM where our, oops, well, let's just look at the codes. It had a code in there. Let's see what that thing's got. Nothing that pertains to us. More than likely this thing's not going to throw a code, but I'm guessing it's thinking that it might be in a different spot. One thing we could do here, nope, it's not even going to let me. You know what, that was dumb. I turned the key off while it was trying to establish vehicle communication. Let's just slow things down here a little bit. All right, so looking here to, we're gonna want to come down here to, I believe, transmission or gear ratio commanded. Well, I must be wrong because it's in park. Well, okay, so transmission range is in park. Let's make sure that thing's working correctly. Reverse, neutral, drive and overdrive. Well, that's correct. So, in park. And we still cannot get this thing to turn backwards. All right, so as I should know by now, just because it's saying that it's in park does not necessarily mean that the interlock actuator is working. So what I've done here is we've come on here for online data, and we looked. We want to know how this thing operates. So the key release interlock actuator, it's got an actuator up on the steering wheel column, and that's the key release interlock actuator, also known as the key removal inhibit solenoid. It's an electronic controlled solenoid that prevents the key from being turned to the off position unless the transmission selector lever is in the park position. Okay, so the actuator is mounted to the steering column directly behind the ignition cylinder. So what the theory of operation here is, when the selector lever is placed in a position other than park, the park range switch closes and the key release interlock engages. And this prevents the ignition key from being turned to the off position. Okay, so then when you put it in park, then the switch opens, and which basically takes the ground away from what I can understand here. Because if you look down through here, normal operation is the key release interlock actuator, which is part of the steering wheel column, receives battery voltage from the smart junction box fuse 27, which is a 20 amp fuse, through circuit SBP 27, which is a blue and red wire. And when the selector lever is moved out of the park position, the park range switch, which is part of the selector lever, closes and connects the circuit, which we read that while ago, providing ground to the key release interlock actuator. Okay, so what we could have happening here, and I did print this out, and I don't know if this is legible or not. My ink is almost out of my printer, and I don't have any new ink yet. It's on order, it's not here yet. So what you can see here is we have ground coming up here to our, this is going to be in our floor shifter. This is our park interlock switch. So it receives, we've got a ground here, and so here when we're in park, this is going to be our circuit. This ground circuit opens up. So what we could have happen here is we may have a constant ground to our park interlock switch up here. That's park interlock, the interlock actuator up here, because there's constant positive coming down from our smart junction box, which is, I believe, the fuse box underneath the dash. So that's got battery power at all times. See, it's hot at all times. Got battery power coming in. So now when you put it in park, it removes the ground to the actuator, which will allow this thing to release, and then to let the key come back. So either we have, I believe what we have here is either a bad actuator, or we have a park interlock switch that is stuck to ground. So what I think we should do is we'll find fuse 27 in the smart junction box, which is, I'm pretty sure that's in the dash there, under the dash, not in the dash, but under the dash. And we're going to go ahead and pull fuse 27 out. That will remove the power to the key release interlock actuator, and for one, that will tell us that, you know, whether if that thing works, then we can see that we have for sure power coming down here, and that will also tell us that this actuator is good. Now then we're going to need to get to our column shifter, and we'll check that interlock switch, and maybe there's a possibility we can unplug that thing. We'll have to see if we can disconnect it and see if that will allow this to release. If not, we're going to have to check our ground on pin number 2 at our connector coming into our floor shifter. So let's go ahead, we'll go in there, pull fuse 27 out of the SJB, and we'll see if we can then turn our key backwards. Let's go pull that fuse and see what happens. Okay, so the smart junction box is over here on the passenger side footwell here, and as we can see, or hopefully you guys can see, it's got a cover on it, and that will tell us where our fuse is at. So I think we had fuse 27. We need to pull fuse 27. Where are you at? Oh, here, 27. Okay, so that's gonna be right there, which is gonna be this fuse right there. So let me get something to pull that fuse out, and we'll see what happens. Pull this fuse, come back over here, and let's see if we can remove the key now. Maybe. Aha! Perfect. So what that tells us is that our actuator is good. We must have a bad shift interlock cylinder, shift interlock. So let's get and put this thing back in there, and then we'll come over and we'll get that thing. Nope, I was trying to put it in there wrong. I'm looking around the corner here and fat. Yep, I heard it go back in. So now we won't be able to, once we go forward with it, we won't be able to come back. Okay, I'm pretty sure we have a problem in our floor shifter there. So let's get that thing tore apart and we'll get down and get access to that. Which I'm going to have to do a little checking to see how to exactly get access to that. But I believe we're going to have to take some of this apart and to get down in there. But I don't know that for sure. So let me do a little checking and I'll be right back. All right, so what I'm seeing here, if I'm seeing correctly, is that we might be able to just pop these things right on out of here. All right, 7mm, right up. Now, maybe it'll come out. It's got a piece here where it's locked in, and then it should have one on the other side that's holding on for dear life, it seems like. There we go. Now, can we get it out of there? That's the next question. Can I keep it far enough? You know what, I might have to, excuse me, I'm gonna get in the way. Excuse me, coming through. Okay. Now, we'll pop this back out of here. There we go. Now, this is what we need. Okay. All right, now what we need to figure out is if we unplug this, bring you guys over here so you can see. So we have a shift interlock switch, which I would assume is probably I would assume that's going to be this right here. Oh, hang on. I think that thing's broke. There's a broken piece. Or bent. Something's. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. That thing is in the wrong place. Here. What happens if if that happens right here? We push that up. Ooh, will it work? There's our problem. Ah, right there. I guarantee you. I'm gonna put you guys right here. I'm gonna move that thing. Then we'll see if we can go back to park. Or back, yeah. There we go. Now, Right there. Okay, so what we have going on here, and I think what Ford wants to do, is they're going to want to sell us this whole mechanism here. From what I understand, the shift interlock switch is not supposed to be a serviceable item. Now, that thing is broke right there because of probably use, wear, and tear. But I think that, well, I know that this switch is supposed to be moved over and down here. So yeah, that switch is broke. Now, the question is there a way that we can, oh my, yeah, the whole thing is broke. Okay, well, is there a way, let me think on this a little. Is there some way that we can repair this without having to put in a whole new one? Because it should work now. Yeah, it's working now. The only problem is, as soon as this thing gets bumped, you know, just like that. So with use, that thing's gonna end up moving again. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure where this piece goes onto there. I think this must be something that's supposed to go up on top of that. Well, we're gonna need a new one of these. So I'm gonna check and see. I can't imagine that that's very cheap, but we're gonna need to get that thing to be able to repair this correctly. Now, there might be a chance that I can, you know, if the customer just doesn't want to do it, that I can zip tie that, but I don't think it's going to be a good long-term solution. So let me talk to the customer. Let's see what's going on here. But we fixed our problem. We figured it out. So I'll let you, I'll be back shortly. Be about 2 seconds for you guys. We've got our part. It looks nice and shiny new, straight from Ford. The number. Now, make sure that whenever you order that you get one specific to your vehicle, VIN specific. That's what it is for this one. Not saying that's what it's going to be for yours. So what we need to do now is we need to come down here and unplug that, and then we'll need to come get 4 bolts out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's this cable that runs up through here, and I think that just slides right off of there. Well, I say slides off, it has like a retainer. So let's get this out of here, and I'll get some light in here, bring you guys back, and we'll get this thing switched out. Shouldn't take us long. Famous last words. All right, we have some light on the subject and we can see. So okay, so let's see. I think this will have to pop out of there. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna need a little prying action. All right, let's get this. You know, that phone, I'm happy that I've got work, but some days I just don't want to be interrupted. Please, thank you. And it makes it even worse when this is a call for U.S. government. You possibly owe back taxes, and the only way to get out of that is to use the new debt law. Oh, come on. You guys don't have anything better to do besides trying to scam people? Alright. I don't know if that's who that was or not, but I've gotten I don't know how many calls like that today. So come on here. Let's get that out of there. How? Don't want to break the cable. care if I break this thing, but I don't want to break the cable. Okay, there, just like that. All right. Yeah, there's pieces broke inside here. I'm gonna go ahead and clean a little bit of that up. We'll get some of the old coffee stains out of there, and then we'll put the new one in. Okie dokie, here we go. All right, let's pop this thing in here. That thing has that retainer there, and it just, you get it past a certain point, it just pops right in. And then this thing has this little tab. I hope you guys can see that. But it's got this little tab right here that you got to push back. So yeah, it's actually here, it's off to the side. Just pop that down. Now we line up our, it's got some locating dowels. We line those up, set this thing down in there. We tighten up our bolts, put everything back together, and we're good to go. Okay, so this is just going to be a little wrist click is the torque spec for this. So click, 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 wrist click. Not an elbow click, just a wrist click, wrist click. There we go. All right, I think we're good to go. Okay, plop that down on there. Perfect. Now, I believe that's a 7. I don't have that. Nope, it's a 7 or a 6. Alright, it is a 7 metric meter. So, that... down in there. I could use my impact, but that's all plastic there, so one little wrist click on that. Barely even a wrist click. Okay. Now this comes here. Poppage, poppage, poppage unit. Yeah, this thing's working the way it's supposed to now, so we're gonna take this thing on a little test drive. We're out on this test drive on this Ford Expedition. Now, this, since we live in Amish country, this vehicle has taken a smack to the front end with a horse. The horse had a little cut on his lip, that was it. But the front end of this Ford Expedition looked like a inverted V-plow. So there was a concern about the radiator fans possibly not working correctly. So did a little checking on that. There was nothing that was malfunctioning at this point on that part. So as of now, he's going to leave that. We replaced the serpentine belt and the idler for that front end there. It had a noisy idler. And then we repaired the ignition. So everything seems to be working. Our reverse drive, everything seems to be working. I'm going to end this video. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing up to temperature again. Just make sure that the fans are working the way they're supposed to, but no codes in the ECM for the fans. So if I find a problem on that, I'll make another video on that. But until then, I'd like to thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. You guys know what to do, guys and gals. I always say guys, but it's a general term. Woohoo, can't do that anymore, right? But hey, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys and gal. Please like, share, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a bunch, and it doesn't cost you guys a thing. And until the next time, I will catch you all later.